Now, I don't want to call this guy an idiot, but after watching a few of his videos, I have no choice but to do so. This guy is using these videos to spew a false narrative. What he doesn't understand or doesn't want you to understand is that air is matter, but it does not have weight. It does not exhibit weight while out in the open because it is in a constant state of motion. Air and all gas expand in all directions. The only way to get air or gas to exhibit weight is to, you guessed it, get a container. You must confine the air in a physical container with physical walls that stop the gas. Let's take a listen to this individual and the nonsense he is spewing.
Problems do
Literally.
What will happen when I try and blow up this balloon and add more air to our bottle? What do you think? Let's find out.
Yeah, keep it up. What a moron.
I'm not faking. I'm actually trying to blow air into this balloon and it's not working. Why? Because
Why?
the air inside this bottle is taking up all that space. It doesn't let me blow that balloon up.
And why is it taking up all that space? Because you have confined it in a physical container with physical walls. Air does not exhibit weight while out in the open because it is expanding in all directions. Why is that so hard for you to understand? Oh, if you do understand, it debunks your model. He wants you to believe air is pushing down on him in a singular direction, when it's not. The only way air can exhibit weight is to push down in one direction on a scale. Then the scale would register that weight. What happens when you place a scale out in the open? Nothing. It doesn't register any weight because the air is not pushing straight down. The air is flowing, blowing, traveling, expanding, and dispersing in all directions. It is in a constant state of motion. The only way you can get air to exhibit weight or ascertain weight of air is to confine it in a physical container. My God.
I'm going to stuff the balloon into the bottle, and I'm going to stretch the balloon's opening over the opening of the bottle. There's one thing different about this bottle.
Now, mind you, while we do this, this is painful. I am experiencing physical pain, but I do this for you, so that you can understand what is really going on. It is not hard to figure out why he can inflate that balloon in this bottle. In reality, the air inside that bottle is no longer confined to the bottle because it has a hole at the bottom of the container. So the air is no longer contained. It can leave the bottle.
Watch what happens when I try and blow this balloon up.
Just ridiculous. What a moron.
Why was I able to blow this balloon up? Air actually was moving. Well, how is that air able to move? Well, if you look carefully down here, there's a hole in the bottle. I'll show you with this little stick. The stick actually can go through the hole.
Yes, so what it is a parlor trick. The air is not confined to the bottle. The bottle has a hole in it. The air will expand, disperse, travel, and flow out of that bottle. It is not restricted to the bottle. So when he blows air into the balloon pushes the air out of the hole. And the reason why the air is directed down and pushed out of the hole is because the physical walls of that container confine the air to that bottle up here. The physical walls direct the air, the pressure from the balloon inflating. It pushes the air down and out of the holes. And there's no science to that. You need a container to confine the gas. Gas expands in all directions. This is physical law that you can verify. Boyle's gas law and Avogadro's gas law prove that you need a physical container for gas pressure. And these people use containers to trick you into believing air exhibits weight all the time. It does not. It only exhibits weight when confined to a physical container. When air is outside of the bottle, it is going, flowing, traveling, dispersing, and expanding in all directions. That's why if you place the most sensitive scale outside, it could be the most sensitive weight scale in the world, it will not register or detect any air pushing down on the scale, which is required to register weight. The only way you can ascertain weight of a gas is to confine it in a container. You know the weight of the container, you put the air in, and then you subtract the weight of the container, and then you can ascertain the weight of the gas. These people are charlatans. They want you to believe that 14.7 psi, the weight of an automobile, is pushing down on us. But we don't feel it because miraculously, coincidentally, marvelously, our bodies, even a newborn child, size has no importance in this. Your body, whether you're a midget, a newborn, 5'2" or 6', whatever, your body is exerting an outward pressure that is equal to the weight of an automobile pushing down on us, so that it is possible for it to cancel it out, so we don't feel anything. It's as if nothing is going on. That is illogical, because pressure is the physical force exerted on another object, on or against another object. If that force isn't registered, experienced, or felt, it is not pressure. It's just disgusting. These people are so easy to debunk. Now, if you have an IQ over, I'd say 89, this guy's going to make a real fool of himself, and you should be able to recognize how. This guy will, under no circumstances, want to employ the word suction or sucking. He will go to great bounds to not use that word. Take a listen.
Another way to do this is to use this hole to take the air out of this bottle and let the air in this room blow that balloon up. I'm going to inhale lots of little times.
Yeah.
It's going to look like I'm kissing the bottle. I'm
You're
not.
kissing the
like
bottle.
This.
When he could simply say, suck, I'm going to suck the air out. He does not want to use that word. He doesn't want you to equate suction with a vacuum. And I see through it. I couldn't be in the same room with this individual because there would be pressure, the physical force exerted on or against another object. Get my meaning?
I'm taking all the air out of the bottle. Watch what happens to
Yeah,
the balloon.
you're going to
Here we
create
go.
a vacuum. It's just hilarious. He's creating suction. Let me interrupt briefly. He's sucking the air, removing the air out of that container. That creates suction within that container. And it expands the balloon. The balloon fills with air. I mean, it's elementary. Oh, God, that's painful to watch.
I had to take all the air out of that bottle, and the balloon looked like it was magically blowing up.
No, it didn't. Why won't you use the word suction? Why, under no circumstances, will you say I'm sucking the air out? That's what you're doing. Oh, looks like I'm kissing the bottle. Well, I think that might straighten him out.
It wasn't magic at all.
No.
It was air doing all the work.
No, it wasn't. Are you retarded? You were doing the work. You just did that, what'd you call it? Kissing the bottle? You were sucking the air out. Suction is a pulling effect. It pulled on the balloon. Air filled the balloon. Per suction. Again, this is painful. But I do it for your best interest, the viewer. There is no critical thinking going on here. This guy is programming whoever's watching this. Actually, I didn't find this video. A Globe Heretic referenced me to this. I might show you in the comment section to prove my point. Because this is painful for me. I know exactly what this guy's going to do. I know how he's doing it. I know what the false narrative is. Under no circumstances do they want you to understand that a vacuum creates and produces suction. Even though they have to admit it, you are programmed not to equate that definition with the reality of what actually transpires with a vacuum.
Suction. Suction.
Okay, here we are. They admitted it's on Google, the dictionary, Oxford language. Suction is the word in question. Suction is the word being defined. The production of a vacuum. How? By the removal of air in order to force fluid or matter into a vacant space. The vacant space is the vacuum. Or to procure adhesion. Now again I say matter because physicians used a tube to suction out the gallstones. The gallstones are matter. They used suction to suction them out with a tube. Okay, it's not outside pressure pushing the gallstones up the tube. Do you understand that? This is reality. They have to admit it. Just like they put forth Boyle's and Avogadro's gas law. They do teach it, but they do not spend much time on it, and they do not expect you to equate that with reality. Because the reality they teach you is a false narrative that air outside is pushing down on us when we can go outside and feel, experience, and see air going in all directions, blowing branches, trees, flowers, and flags on flagpoles in all directions. That's what gas does. You can go outside with the most sensitive weight scale and set it down and look at it and stare all day, and you'll just see a big fat 0 on the screen. It will never register any weight because air is not pushing down on it. Okay? Suction is produced by a vacuum, the removal of air in order to force fluid or matter into a vacant space or procure adhesion, like with a suction cup. Okay, it doesn't have anything to do with outside pressure pushing a suction cup. As you can see, it is not mentioned or listed here. Suction is produced by the removal of air. It creates a vacant space. The suction forces the fluid or matter into the vacant space or procure adhesion. It's right here. None of you who are my detractors will ever put forth any rebuttal attempting to correct this definition or my understanding of such. You can't. It's right here. It's right there.
Suction.
Sound effect. What are we doing? What are we defining?
Suction.
The production. And I don't say partial because that they just put that there because they say, well, no vacuum is perfect. There's always going to be one molecule of air. So I'll just sweep that to the side. The production of a vacuum by the removal of air to force fluid or matter, the gallstones, into a vacant space. The vacant space is the vacuum, and matter and fluid is forced into that vacant space per
suction,
okay, and that's why that guy, against all odds, would not use the word suction or sucking. He invented all types of other nonsense. That word is blacklisted. They don't want that word on the table when they're teaching you their false narrative. Now, what is so hard to understand Boyle's and Avogadro's gas law? The gas moves, expands, and disperses in all directions. The only way to get a gas to exhibit a weight is to confine it in a container with physical walls. Otherwise, a gas is not in, it's moving in all directions at high velocity. It's never in the same place more than a fraction of a nanosecond before it's gone. Okay? For matter to register as a weight on a scale, it has to be going down. It presses down on the scale. That's density. Now let's look at this other nonsense this guy puts forth. Let's take a look at the globe heretic that referenced me to this nonsense. Alright, let's take a look at this guy's nonsense here. Air is matter, yes, but air can only exhibit weight if it's confined in a container, like a balloon. A balloon is a physical container with physical walls which confine the gas to that area. If there was a hole in that balloon, the gas would leave. It wouldn't just be here or there, it would be gone. It expands in all directions at high velocity. These are the words verbatim from Boyle's and Avogadro's gas law. And even Google will tell you. I might show you that too. Because they have to tell the truth, but they don't expect you to equate it with true reality because you are programmed from an early age. Okay, so let's listen to this guy. He's not going to tell you that in order for this to work, you need a physical container. Otherwise, he could stick the most sensitive scale on the table and show us air being matter, which it is, expressing weight and registering on the scale. That is impossible. Okay, like I show you with my video with the suction cup, weighs 10 grams as a natural suction cup. Then I produce a vacuum by pushing the air out of the suction cup and procure adhesion, and the suction cup still weighs 10 grams. That's because there's nothing going on around the outside of that suction cup. There is no change. None.
Welcome to my scale. I have a neat
Scumbag.
balance here.
Yeah, you need that, a scale with containers. Not one with a digital screen because it won't register anything.
Almost as balanced.
Liar.
It's working pretty good. I have two balloons, and I want to show you that air has weight, so I put air into them.
So what'd he say?
Almost as balanced. Hey, it's working pretty good. I have two balloons, and I want to show you that air has weight, so I put air into them.
Yes, you have to use a physical container to get air to exhibit weight. And even if you put that balloon on a weight scale, it will not register any weight. What you do, let's say if you had a plastic container bottle and you weigh that bottle and find out how much it weighs, then you fill it with air and weigh it again. Then you subtract the weight of the bottle, and then you know how much the air weighs. Do you understand me? You need a physical container. Otherwise, the gas outside of those balloons are going in all directions at high velocity. If it was windy in there, you'd see his hair blown in all directions. Air is constantly doing that.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the air from one of these balloons. We're going to go with this one right here. So if I take the air out of this balloon and this balloon still
Let's
has air,
just get
it
to the
should be
point.
heavier.
Yeah,
Let's see
it's
if we can get this to work.
yeah, it will, because the air will
Okay, I've removed the air.
expand
Slowly
out of
leaving
there.
the balloon. Whoa, it's swirling because I can't. A second.
So what happened was the air expanded out of there, and once it leaves that balloon, it continues to expand in all directions. That's why he needed to confine it in a container. And that's why that balloon is pushing down, because it's in a physical container that confines it. It can't go this way and that way, up, down, left, right, and sideways, because it's confined. That's why you need a physical container. You need a physical container to demonstrate gas pressure. Now, let me show you the heretic that referenced me to this nonsense. Shim Sham. Okay, this guy right here referenced me to these two videos that I just showed you. What's his name? I'm not even going to pronounce that. He's an idiot. But I'm going to tap a link and show you what it brings us to. To this guy. Oh, this was the first one, Action Lab, which I wanted to. I'm not going to have time for that one, but let's go back. It was the second one that brought me to this string of nonsense by this other guy right there. See that one there? To this guy. So that's how I found that, and that's how it's debunked. I'm almost out of time. But in conclusion, the gas we breathe, the air that is outside, is traveling in all directions. Yes, air and gas is matter, but it does not exhibit a weight unless it is in a physical container, because you must confine it. You stop it from gas here will be here and there and gone within nanoseconds. You must confine it in a physical container to ascertain weight. Otherwise, it's traveling in all directions. Weight can only be ascertained when an object of matter is pushing straight down on the scale. That's why they need a physical container. If what they were saying was truly honest, they could put a sensitive scale on the table and the air in the room would push down on that scale. That does not happen. It can't, because gas, oxygen, all gas is expanding in all directions. Your model is debunked. I would greatly appreciate it if you faced reality.